Hey, welcome back, folks. John Kelly, law enforcement life coach with your Sometimes Heroes Need Help podcast. All right. I hope you're sitting down because I got Kayleigh Perkins in the house today. Kayleigh has been on the job for less than a year. And as a matter of fact, she's only been on her own for about a month. And man, does she got something to say about that. Kayleigh Perkins is with us. She's a deputy in Northern Florida. And we're going to sit down with her and we're going to find out why and her perspective and how she plans on doing this career better than we did it. She's got so much value to add to the conversation. And I finally got her to sit down with us. So without further ado, Kayleigh, it is really great to finally meet you.
It's great to meet you too.
Thanks for being here, hon. I when we talked before we officially recorded, one of the big questions I think I have, and probably a lot of people want to know, is of all times to get involved in law enforcement, right? Why now? Why you? What's your take on it?
Well, as this might sound funny, but I guess for me too, starting now doesn't even really have a, I don't want to say it, I didn't have a choice of where to start either. So being that I've always kind of wanted to do something along these lines, it was always in the back of my mind since I was a little girl, just because of what I was raised around. Um, and of course, even 15 years ago, because I mean, I'm 23, but when 15 years ago, when I first started thinking about it was a lot different then too. The climax around law enforcement was a lot different even 15 years ago. So for me, I was also too young to even really have an understanding. I just knew that, oh, law enforcement, criminal justice, something along those lines forever. So as I've gotten older and I went to college, I did start to realize like, okay, things are changing. There's a different view because I went to college with all sorts of different types of people and cultures, and I was in a criminal justice program. Um, and even then, sometimes in my criminal justice program, I feel like it was kind of discouraged to go into law enforcement, I would say. As
That's
funny as that
kind of
sounds,
crazy, right? Now
yeah, as
you're kind
funny,
of looking back on that.
yeah, like as funny as it sounds, it was kind of a push for, I don't even know, just something other than law enforcement, which to be fair, I didn't ever see myself going for local law enforcement. It wasn't until I did an internship that I was like, wait, that's actually what I want to do. Um, but I feel like I have a heart that's aimed towards everybody and for all people, and I have a lot of passions. So for me, whether it's 2023 or I don't know 2008, I felt like this is where I belonged.
That is listen, right? It doesn't matter what's going on in the profession. Like you just listen, kid. And please don't take offense, right? If I say kid, I call everybody kid. Listen, you just like brought everything into perspective for me. It does listen, folks, did you hear what she said? It doesn't matter what's going on out there. This is her heart. This is your heart. This mission to serve. Um, that's I didn't see that coming, Kayleigh. I didn't see that coming. So it doesn't really matter what's going on in the political environment. It doesn't matter what's going on across the country, whether or not you're being applauded or you're being villainized. This is what you want to do. You want to serve.
Yeah, and I kind of look at it from a standpoint of as long as you stick to who you are and it's being the same person you were from start to finish. I mean, people change, and that's how life goes. You change certain opinions and outlooks.
Right.
Um, but I've just always, even throughout college and things I've went through in my life, as long as I've just stayed true to who I am and what I believe, and you're a good person, I think that's what mostly matters.
That's awesome. That is, you know, that's refreshing to hear because sitting back with a lens of 30 years, I say to myself sometimes, and listen, every generation, you didn't have it the way we had it. You don't know what it's like, and everybody's got that ridiculous story that somehow the generations that come after them, don't have it as tough, don't have. I think that sentiment is changing now because when I got hired, it was a completely different environment and you were expected to do the job. I think you need to be a lot more diverse. I think you need to be more intelligent now to do the job than I had to be. I think you have to weigh things that I didn't even have to think about back in the day. And I think that that whole thinking on your feet and coming to the right decision, um, there was no wrong decision when I was coming up. There was a lot of latitude, and with the advent of cell phone camera, listen, if somebody had a camera back in the day, it was a big lumpy, video recorder like from Channel 7. There was
Yeah.
no phones, right?
Yeah.
So you're constantly under the microscope. How do you what's your perspective on that about, you know, every everything that you do now is being recorded to the point where you're even recording your own actions now. I believe at your agency they have body worn cameras.
Mhm.
So does that even play into anything that you're doing out there on the road?
Um, it does, but I was told kind of at the beginning of this process, as long as you talk to everybody, including your peers, civilians, and everyone else, like your grandma's in the room, you shouldn't have a problem. And I know that sounds kind of cliche, but I talk like my grandma's in the room. And to be honest, that's worked out pretty well for me so far.
Right? Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's again, you're not overthinking it. Listen,
Hmm.
just it kind of it checks everybody. Just if we're going to interact with each other, let's do so in a professional manner.
Yeah.
It,
And
it,
I
it
mean, it's everyone likes to goof off. Everyone likes to have fun conversations with their peers and everything else. And again, it's just being mindful. Nobody expects us to not be funny or have funny conversations amongst each other, even the people that we meet, like
Sure,
civilians. But as long as you're just, again, I go back to the whole root of just being a good person and talking to people with respect, you shouldn't have an issue.
that's awesome. Yeah, because I know I'm going to go out on a limb here. Back in the day, that wasn't the way. Listen, everybody wants to say that. Oh, I always. There were situations and scenes that I was on in my past that I'm not proud of how I conducted myself. You
Mhm.
know, and um, unfortunately, back in the day, when crazy becomes normal, it's kind of hard to know where to go from there. And you lose your way and your moral compass and all those things that we start out with, straight as an arrow. None of these things. I'm never going to be that guy. I'm never going to do that. Um, and it kind of over time you stop becoming the person that you should be. And how do you plan on keeping that from happening, Kayleigh? So you're 23,
I just turned 20.
23, you've been on the job by yourself for a little over a month.
Mhm.
Um, you are in the one of the most noble of professions, and the environment that we're in has a tendency, if we're not careful, to change you and not for the better. So, what are I'm sure somebody's had that conversation with you, right? More than once,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
right? So, what are some of the things that proactively you're implementing, Kayleigh, to stay healthy physically and mentally as you're starting off in this journey?
Well, one thing that's big for me is I've been into weightlifting for a few years. So I love it. It's every day off that I get. I'm with lifting weights. It's my thing. And for
Awesome.
a little bit when I was in training, it kind of because I was getting used to different schedules, I kind of slipped with my schedule on it, and I found myself just being more cranky, um, just all in all not feeling great. So it's something that I try to stick to, and it means a lot to me because I just enjoy the gym environment. I enjoy being able to go listen to my music, even the drive to the gym just is
Sure.
relaxing to me.
That's
So
awesome.
yeah, so weightlifting, um, and also like I'm still the same person that I even was a few years ago and in college. Like I still find the same types of jokes funny, the same movies, same everything. Like my best friend, one of my childhood best friends, she moved down here to Florida, from where her and I grew up, which is not in Florida.
Right.
So her and I still find the same things funny. Just even going to go shopping with her for a few hours, or with my whole family and her together, like we're all still the same people, and that's where I get my enjoyment from. So, and animals. I'm a huge animal person. So,
I love it. So the things that you're doing, um, a lot of guys start to do and girls start to do. But the one thing that you touched on that I think was crucial is having somebody outside of law enforcement that you still associate with.
mhm,
That's that not only is that key for your sanity, but it's key for your growth and development. Because
right,
I'm sure you've been told we have a tendency when we embark on this journey that the only people we associate with, the only people in our circle are cops.
right.
And that's not a good thing. It's not a good thing. And so between the physical activity, the weightlifting, um, and you maintaining friends outside of law enforcement, those two things are absolutely amazing that you're doing proactively to stay ahead of this.
Yeah, and I still like actively like plan trips to see like my friends from college or my friends from where I grew up, because I grew up in Maryland. So we all still plan, even though we all have our own big girl jobs now, like just still planning to do things with each other, and
Right.
somehow we follow through on every one. We It makes it out of the group chat, the plans. So
That's
that's
awesome. That is awesome. Let me ask you. So
Mhm,
I have been. So listen, I'm a dinosaur, and
mhm,
so I just started to get into meditation. Is
mhm.
that something that you're even familiar with, or something that you would look to moving forward?
I mean, it's something I'm familiar with. My aunt likes to meditate. My aunt and my uncle. I think everybody kind of has their own form of meditation. So,
Okay.
like I said, I think meditation, the whole premise behind it, because I used to study a lot of like the Japanese and Buddhist culture. I think the whole premise behind it is just like inner. I know it sounds cliche, but like inner peace and comfort,
Right.
um, and taking a step back. And I think meditating can mean a lot of different things for a lot of people. Like for me, again, it goes back to weightlifting. Like that's my meditating. I'm in
That's
a
your
different.
happy place.
Right, exactly.
Very cool. Very cool. That makes sense. It doesn't need to be. I guess the big takeaway is you're making time for you, doing something that not only helps you physically, but mentally. That's where you go to decompress and recharge the battery.
Yeah, and also a big believer in the little things. Um, and a lot of people don't look at it the same way, I guess. But like little things for me that make me happy, I do. Well, and if one of those little things is buying my overpriced coffee every day, but it makes me
Right.
happy, I'm gonna do it. If I One of my little things, I love candles. They're the little things. I enjoy them. So to me, it's also little things that you can do for yourself every day, even if you're not having a good day. The
Mm,
little things will add up. And whether it's just like one glimpse of just pure enjoyment from a new candle, or buying the coffee, or petting a dog, it adds up.
right. How many dogs do you have?
Well, so I technically have two. I have my
Okay.
family dog that stays with my dad. He's an English bulldog. He's
Nice.
Everyone that knows me knows that he is my everything.
Yep.
And my boyfriend and I recently adopted another dog too. So yeah,
Nice. Nice.
yeah.
No, that there's that other component. I think people that love dogs, they're and there's a relationship there. There's that unconditional love. I think it sets a lot of things right when
Right.
you come through the door. Right. It's a
Exactly.
nice way to enter the house when you have a dog or a pet like that at home. Um, so we talked about self care. We talked about the why. Your plans. Now I know it's kind of crazy to even throw this out there, but where do you see yourself? And this isn't a job interview, so I'm not going to get crazy with you. But where do you see yourself in, say, 5 years, 10 years? What what's on the 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 horizon for Kayleigh? Now I know you just started, but I'm sure you started with a goal in mind. So where do you see yourself moving through this thing of ours?
Um, I thought I had everything planned out on a perfect timeline when I was in college. I thought that I would be at this agency by this time and I would do this in 2 years and I'd move on to another thing in 2 years. And I found out now that that's just not reality. And it also, I've realized like, what is the rush? So I can't say that I 100% know where I want to be or what I want to be doing in 5 years. I do know that I want to start because I graduated with my bachelor's in December of 2021, I guess it was. Yeah,
Okay.
December 2021. I would love to start my master's here soon. And that's something that I'm really looking forward to doing. It'll probably be, I don't know, in the next year, I'll start it.
Okay.
Um, but I also foresee myself down the road doing like law school or something because I've always had a passion for law. And I really, like I said, a lot of my personality comes from my passions. And when it comes to the passions that I have, whether they're injustices that I believe in or something like that, it just means a lot to me. And I've always felt those kind of things really close to my heart. So I feel like for me, doing something like law would probably be a big part of my life when I'm, especially when I'm older too. So
Nice. Nice. And everything that you're doing now is giving you a foundation of perspective for anything else that you want to do in life. That
mhm.
is awesome. That's awesome. I um I wanted to ask. So you've started out on this journey, very noble. Um, what has there been some feedback from some of your peers that like, Kayleigh, what are you like? What are you doing? Like, so
Yeah.
talk to me. How do those
Yeah.
conversations go? I mean, I think it's badass. I think you a young woman who is listen, this is a no joke profession, man. And
Yeah.
the fact that you want to put it out there to take care of people, total strangers, you're out there protecting and helping. Um, so what are the conversations like with some of your friends that chose maybe a different path?
So for friends that chose a different path, they think everything is, I don't know how to describe it. To them, it's kind of like the when I was in college, everyone was like, "Oh, the people that don't study criminal justice see it as like the CSI shows or what." I never even watched any of those shows, so I don't really know. They see
Right.
it that way. So a lot of my friends see it that way too, and they're like, "Wow, it's that's so." And of course, it's dangerous, but they just see it so differently. They think of it as like a TV show, and they're like, "Oh, that's so scary every day." I'm like, I mean,
I
it's
guess
not.
it's relative, right? I mean, there are moments that are
Yeah.
scary.
Right. But they don't get to see the moments that I'm with my peers at work where we're laughing at the goofiest things like I did in college. Like
Sure.
it's kind of like a whole nother team environment. And I've tried to explain that to my friends too, because I mean, as goofy as it sounds now, I guess maybe it wouldn't come as a huge surprise to most people, but I was in a sorority in college and it's
No, no, you don't know. I don't want to stop. Really? A
yeah,
sorority? Kayleigh
yeah,
Perkins. Yeah,
yeah.
I could see you being in a sorority, Kayleigh.
Right. No, I definitely meet yeah, it would be expected. But
That's a
it
compliment, by the way. I wasn't throwing
thank
you a
you.
jab.
No, no, it's okay. But I also played sports when I was in college, when I was
Right.
younger. So I've tried to explain to my friends like it's pretty much another big one team, and maybe not so much like the sorority, but it's one big team environment. Just like when I played sports, just like it's kind of a team environment. And I don't know, it's a little bit different. But a lot of times, like I said earlier, like and you brought up like having friends outside of work, I don't even really talk to my friends that much about it. Like I really
Right.
we share the same types of videos and things that we think are funny that wouldn't matter what our jobs are because at the end of the day, we're not our jobs. We're who we've always been.
That's awesome. They speaking to the environment, right? That team concept. So I I think, well, I don't know because I haven't been in the game for a little bit. I retired in 2020.
Mhm.
And I think one of the criticisms that I would have, again, my point of reference is my own agency that I came to, and it was kind of toxic. It was 6,000 man department. It was huge.
Yeah, good.
Um, and there was a lot of toxicity. And,
Mhm.
we talked it, we have two realities. We have two environments. The environment that everybody thinks is going on, which is everybody has each other's back. Nobody talks shit about anybody. Everybody's, we're going through the door together, Kayleigh, and I always have your back. And then there was the reality that sometimes our relationships between each other at work they can become a little toxic, and we don't always support and defend each other the way we need to be. Walking into the door with less than a month on your own, do are things amongst the troops better than I'm purporting?
Um, I mean, I can't speak for every single person and every
Sure.
single place, but I definitely feel like I've been welcomed with open arms. I think one thing I've tried to remind myself is that not everyone's always going to like you. I learned that quickly when I was in college. I've learned that, throughout my life. And it's something that as long as you can make peace with the fact that people are different and that doesn't change in a work environment. Everybody brings something different to the table because again, like I said, like we aren't our jobs, we're us as individuals. So even coming to work isn't going to make, even though we're all under the same branch of work, it doesn't mean we're automatically all going to be similar people. I mean, everybody in law enforcement kind of has like type A personalities, you could say, but we're all different people at the end of the day. Um, so I've learned that not everyone's going to like me, but as long, especially me being so new, I try to lay low. I don't want to.
Oh, so you're not coming in the roll call telling everybody how they messed up that call last night?
No, I don't. I
Oh,
don't dare open
oh,
my mouth
that's
about those
awesome
things.
that you've learned that lesson.
No, no, I know my place. And I
Wow.
would never try to. I just don't feel like I like even like the newer people, like the newer trainees than me. It's not my place to say anything to them. If they would want my help, that's awesome. But like it's not
Right,
my kind of coach them in those ways yet because I'm so new. But again,
right.
just the pure thing in general, I feel like I've been welcomed with open arms and
That's awesome.
I enjoy it. So and the
Yeah,
people.
and for whatever it's worth, I'm familiar with your agency, and the sense of everybody I've had interaction with there has really been very welcoming, very no chips on the shoulder, just part of the solution. And one of the things that I think you were leaning towards is one of the things that I like to talk about is the difference between liking somebody and caring about them.
Mhm,
Like you don't have to like everybody, Kayleigh, but you do have to care about them.
mhm,
Right? And I think that's a lesson that a lot of us have forgotten along the way. Is that at the end of the day, there are going to be people that you don't break bread with,
mhm.
and that's okay. But you have to have their back. You have to care for them, and
Yeah,
you care for total strangers out there. We got to do a better job of caring for our own.
yeah,
And
for sure.
I love that perspective that you have on that. You know what, this I'm kicking myself for not doing this sooner. You have really giving me, and it sounds corny, right? It sounds so corny, man. But you've given me like this hope that we're leaving this thing in really capable hands. Really, there's always that, goddamn kids, who's going to run this country when I'm in my 70s and 80s? And, people like you. No, and we're in good hands. Um, I'm so glad I decided to do this. And I'm so glad that you agreed to come on the show. I want you to do this for me. One last thing, Kayleigh. If you can lead, if there was one thing, right? I've got an audience of maybe, I don't know, maybe it's like two people, my wife and my daughter, right? Maybe they're listening. I got a few people listening from all around the world. I've been blessed. If
Mhm,
there's something that you could say to them a new 23-year-old rookie who's out there less than a month on her own, trying to make a difference in this world of ours, trying to make this place a better place to live for everybody. If there's something that you could say to them to let them give them some perspective or shed a little light on a philosophy that you have, what would it be, Kayleigh?
mhm.
I know it wasn't a multiple choice I gave you. I,
Hmm.
I apologize.
um, I think again, I don't want to ever sound cliche or anything, but a lot of who I am, it goes back to my passions and the things that I feel so strongly about. So if I could, especially like women too and young females, um, the things that you care about and the things that made you start, the things that whether it's law enforcement, whether it's I don't know anything, you stick true to those, stick true to who you are. You don't have to adjust who you are for anybody or anything. I'm kind of viewed sometimes as the bubbly, oh, she's Miss Sunshine Barbie doll. I'm not always. I have my
Right.
days, but
Right.
I I'm gonna stick to who I am. Love people and love things. Like I said, I treat everybody the same way. Sometimes I over feel with my emotions, and sometimes I take on everyone's emotions, but that's okay because if you love people and you love the things that you care about, whether, like I said, for me, it's animal rights, or I'm also a vegetarian, so
Right. Right.
just sticking to who you are. Your passions make people who they are, and everyone's going to have different ones, but just stick true to those things. Stick true to the values that you have, and don't forget where you came from either, because that's a big lesson that I learned too. Is I might sometimes look back at my past and my childhood and some things that happened to me, and I might be like, "Wow, that was really crappy," or "I'm still angry about that." But it's looking at those things as a whole and how they shaped you, and taking everything as a lesson. So I don't know. That's kind of a lot, and it wasn't one solid
No,
answer. But
I love it. I love it. That it was awesome. Ladies and gentlemen, Kayleigh Perkins, thanks for your time, hon. It was really awesome sitting down with you. And I have hope. I have hope. We are moving this thing in the right direction with people like you. Thanks for joining us, Kayleigh.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.